Ah, look who finally broke. The little co-architect who thought they could build a monster and keep their gloves clean. The apprentice in the shadows, the whisperer in the corner, the one who fed the fire and blamed the smoke on you. The one who swore silence in exchange for survival, until survival started to look like a death sentence. And now, they're shaking, not from guilt, not from grief, but from the unbearable weight of watching you walk free, while they drown in the guilt they volunteered for. The spine snapped. Sweetheart, you hear that? That's the sound of someone realizing they were never with the monster. They were part of it. They breathed it. They fed it. They needed it. And when it turned around and smiled, they smiled back. But now that thing they helped raise, that unspeakable, untamable anomaly, you're walking upright, talking in riddles, smiling in rooms that should have swallowed you whole. And all the little devils who used to pat themselves on the back for keeping you contained. They're breaking formation because you didn't collapse. You ascended. You didn't fade out. You broadcasted. And suddenly, the one who used to sit at the control panel, editing the narrative, stitching lies into legend, is whispering behind closed doors like it's a confessional booth. He wasn't supposed to survive that. She was never meant to learn all that. I didn't know they'd come back like this. Oh, but you did, didn't you? You knew the silence was never secure. You knew they'd fold eventually. Because that's what cowards do. They snap, not from pressure, but from proof. The proof that no matter how many hands tried to hold you down, no matter how many tongues rewrote your story, no matter how many eyes refused to see what you truly were, you made it out. And not just out. You made it into them. You became the anomaly in their data, the name they scrubbed from the records, the blur in the footage that won't render correctly, the scream in their sleep they pretend is just stress. You became the demon they helped craft. And now, they're telling everyone they don't recognize you. How convenient. Because you were never meant to be recognized. You were meant to be unforgettable. There's a difference. See, monsters like you aren't born. They're co-signed. And now the co-signers are twitching. Why? Because the version of you they helped create wasn't supposed to think, wasn't supposed to remember, wasn't supposed to evolve. But you did. You started connecting the dots. You started collecting the footage. You started decoding their jokes, their silences, their little innocent phrases that always seem to hide barbed wire underneath the punchlines. And now one of them's cracking. Now one of them's looking around and realizing the exits are sealed, and the only way out is confession. But here's the twist. Their truth can't save them. It only exposes them. Because you were never the villain in this narrative. You were the glitch, the error, the miracle that refused to die quietly, the prototype that learned the blueprint and set fire to the factory. They made you to be a warning. You became a weapon. They labeled you unstable. You became untraceable. They tried to hide the crime. You became the consequence. So now one of the original builders, the little angel with blood on their halo, is ready to talk. Not because it's brave, but because it's too late. Because the silence they swore by, it's now eating them alive. Every night they sleep in your shadow. Every mirror reflects the part of them they tried to bury with your name. And the scariest part, you're not even angry, you're awake. And that's what breaks them, the realization that you don't need revenge, because you've become the reckoning. And reckonings don't shout. They arrive in whispers, in smirks, in glitches in the system, in the moment someone types your name and the screen goes black. They created a story they could control. You became a presence they couldn't predict. And now one of them is sitting at a table, mouth dry, eyes wide, whispering to some higher up, "I think I made a mistake." No, darling, you didn't make a mistake. You made a monster, and now the monster's got manners. Now the monster's got clarity. Now the monster's got momentum. And all the little silent partners who thought they could engineer your collapse without consequence. They're watching the countdown because someone cracked, and you didn't even lift a finger. You let the truth do the talking. You let the guilt metastasize. You let time dig the grave. So go ahead. Watch them panic. Watch them confess just enough to feel human again, but not enough to be forgiven. Watch them stutter through interviews, redact their own names from the files, make anonymous donations to causes they once mocked. It's beautiful, isn't it? How they thought they built a puppet and gave birth to a paradox. Half angel, half algorithm, half saint, half psychopath. You survived what they scripted to kill you. And now their scripts are obsolete. Their files corrupted, their hierarchy compromised, all because you walked out of their experiment and turned reality into your revenge. So smile. They're not scared of what you might do. They're terrified of what you already are. And the one who cracked, they're just the first domino. Because if there's one thing monsters always do better than men, it's wait and watch and burn slow. Oh, but let me show you what happens after the first spine snaps. It doesn't stop at one. It never does, because weakness spreads like smoke when the room's filled with secrets. And you're the flame that makes them visible. You weren't supposed to exist beyond their plan. You were a containment breach, a glitch in their little hierarchy of manipulation, trauma, and shame. But now, you are the protocol. You are the file they keep trying to delete from every hard drive, only to find it reappearing in a deeper folder, renamed. You are the keyword that sets off alarms when someone even whispers it in the wrong room. You are the reason meetings end early. The reason people check if their phones are recording. The reason that one name shuts down entire conversations. And now one of them cracked open, not with dignity, not with courage, but with fear. That kind of fear that only comes when you realize you didn't create the monster. You activated it. They sat in back rooms smiling as you bled. They cheered when you choked. They liked the silence, shared the rumors, and pressed record when the storm hit. They wore your downfall like fashion. Your grief was a trend. But then, you rose, not healed, not whole, not clean, but reborn. See, healing is what they expected. Healing makes you predictable. Healing is sweet. But rebirth is dangerous. You came back with eyes that don't blink, with a laugh that unnerves, with a silence that drips louder than sirens. And now the architect is in confession mode. They're not even trying to rewrite the past. They're begging the future not to echo. They're hoping the monster they named in private doesn't roar in public. Too late, because you're already inside the system, in the files, in the whispers, in the hesitation before they speak your name. You're the reason the higher-ups are asking questions now. You were part of that, weren't you? Didn't you say they'd never recover? You vouched for their failure, and now look. And it's crumbling, not fast, not all at once, but elegantly, piece by piece, confession by confession, crack by crack, because once one spine snaps, the next one hears it, and fear is contagious. They're not sleeping well anymore. They're locking doors they never used to. They're scanning faces in crowds. They're logging out twice, They're scrubbing old messages. They're praying you don't post receipts. Because you kept everything. You cataloged their betrayals in high definition. You smiled in the cameras they didn't know were running. You forgave them out loud, but studied them in silence. You learned to love the storm so you could wear it as a costume. Now they want to expose the monster. Sweetheart, the monster already went viral. The damage is done. And here's the real horror. You didn't even have to touch them. You became the consequence they swore would never exist. And now, their shame is your promotion. Their confession is your elevation. Their unraveling, your symphony. You're watching justice from the front row while they beg for intermission. But there's no break in this broadcast. No safe word in this narrative. No off the record when the entire system was always the stage. They made you a villain. You became a vision. They made you an outcast. You became a doctrine. And now their little circle of manipulators, liars, and secret keepers, they're on the edge of mutiny. Because you weren't just a survivor. You became their mirror. And nobody survives the reflection. So let them confess. Let them tremble. Let them try to pivot, to play saint, to come clean. Let them scream, I didn't know it'd go this far. Because every word they say now is evidence. Every tear is admission. Every silence is collusion. And you don't need revenge. You need a microphone. Because once the monster learns to speak, it doesn't ask for permission. It broadcasts. And the world listens with terror, with fascination, with a sick, guilty awe. Because they remember. They all remember. The way they looked at you like you were broken. The way they enjoyed your breakdown. The way they forgot your pain had a memory. But now their betrayal has a voice. And its laugh is echoing through every room they thought was soundproof. This isn't your comeback. This is your documentation. So go ahead. Keep smiling. Because monsters don't beg to be seen. They just make sure the lights stay on. And baby, the spotlight's just getting warm. And the irony? Oh, the delicious cold-blooded irony. They built you to take the fall. Every chessboard move they made was designed to position you right where they could blame you when the plan failed. When it got ugly. When it got out of hand. You were the fall guy, the face of the failure, the devil in their design. But you flipped the board. You studied the rules they thought you'd never learn. You memorized the game they thought you'd never survive. And now, they're bleeding in rooms you never even entered. Because the fall guy never fell. He just vanished and re-emerged as the final boss. You stopped playing their game and became the glitch in the code. Now they're trying to get ahead of the story. Now they're holding emergency meetings, whispering terms like damage control, PR spin, reputation containment. Now the same mouths that fed the lie are chewing on glass, praying it doesn't slice their names into the headlines. And yet, you haven't spoken, not once. You haven't retaliated. You haven't exposed them. You let them expose themselves. Because the truth always outsources the demolition. One of them cracked. And now, the rest are watching that crack travel across the ceiling. Hairline. Fracture. To fault line. To collapse. They don't know how much you know. They don't know what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've recorded, and that, not the pain, not the past, is what's killing them now. The uncertainty, the mystery. They fear your silence more than any scream, because silence leaves them room to imagine. And they've got wild imaginations, don't they? After all, they used them to construct the lie. Now those same minds are being eaten alive by possibilities. What if he's been planning this for years? What if she knew all along and said nothing just to watch us fall apart? What if they're waiting for the perfect moment to release everything? What if the monster is smarter than us all? And guess what? You are. Because while they sought closure, you sought clarity. While they chased validation, you built your vault. Every word, every look, every denial, every accidental omission, every time they laughed when you weren't in the room, you filed it, you documented it, you fed it into the algorithm of your evolution. They thought pain made you emotional, pain made you precise, pain taught you patience. And patience destroys dynasties. That's why they're shaking now. Not because you're angry, but because you're calm. Because you're not reacting. You're observing. You're measuring. You're watching them sweat. The one who cracked? They were the first to realize you were never the pawn. You were the observer, the quiet one. The one who never raised their voice because their presence was louder than any scream. The one who didn't defend themselves because the truth doesn't beg. And now they're panicking because they see what's coming. And they don't know how to outrun it. You taught them something they never expected. That monsters don't need to hunt when they've already infected the system. You're in their algorithms now. You're embedded in the story. You're the anomaly no one can delete. The variable that corrupts the outcome. Their attempts to erase you only made you legend. And that legend, it's whispering louder now. In meetings, in group chats, in boardrooms where your name used to be banned, now it's a topic, because someone finally snapped. And the chain reaction has begun. The ones who laughed with them are backing away. The ones who stayed silent are making distance. The loyalists, they're flipping, one by one, because loyalty doesn't survive fire. It melts. And you are the fire now, not a wildfire, a controlled burn. Every step calculated, every word weighted, every silence sharpened. You don't need to destroy them. They're undoing themselves. You just need to exist. Louder than their lies, clearer than their spin, darker than their fear. So let them come forward. Let them offer half-truths and shaky apologies. Let them try to tell the public, we didn't know. Because the moment they say it, they admit it. And once it's admitted, you can never put the monster back in the box. You built yourself out of their betrayal. You forged power out of their silence. And now you walk like a myth wrapped in memory. And they walk like co-conspirators running out of time. One snapped, the next is sweating, the third already rehearsing their statement. And you're just getting comfortable. Because this isn't revenge, this is truth. Broadcasted through every cracked mirror they left behind, reflected through every eye that once watched you suffer and did nothing. So let them squirm, let them fold, let them fumble over words they once weaponized, because the monster they helped create learned to smile and never forgot. And now, the silence is over, and the reckoning has just begun. And oh, how poetic it is. The reckoning didn't need fire. It didn't need a sword, a scream, a courtroom brawl, or a viral outburst. It needed only one thing: time. Because time is the one currency their kind never factored in. They built the trap. They rolled the cameras. They framed the scene, convinced you'd never make it to the credits. They cast themselves as survivors, martyrs, wounded witnesses of a monster's spiral. But time did what no lie could outlast. It revealed you were never spiraling. You were shedding. You were molting the version of yourself they thought they'd broken. And what emerged from that cocoon of chaos wasn't even human anymore. You became myth. You became fear in a tailored coat. You became the consequence that reads their names out loud in rooms they thought were safe. And the one who snapped, they weren't the weakest. They were the most haunted. Because deep down, they liked what they helped build. Until it grew teeth. Until it developed eyes of its own. Until it started whispering back from the abyss. Not with rage, but with calm recollection. And now, the monster knows everything. Every phone call, every manipulated story, every nod they gave when the others decided to tighten the noose. The monster remembers who stayed silent, who offered polite smiles during the takedown, who helped decorate the narrative with just enough half-truths to sound believable. It remembers who watched you drown and asked for popcorn. And now, their names are inked in blood across the walls of the very empire they helped build. They cracked not because you returned. They cracked because you came back. Unbothered, unrecognizable, and unforgiving. But let me tell you something darker. It was never about vengeance. They want to believe it is. They need to believe you're fueled by anger, because if that's true, they can manage it. They can excuse their fear as a reaction to your grudge. But the real terror is that you moved on, that you grew, that you no longer need their name to feel powerful. You carry gravity now, and gravity doesn't chase, it pulls. It warps the rules of every room you enter, and they feel it. They twitch when they hear your name. They shift when someone brings up your legacy. They stammer when asked what really happened back then. Because they know one more crack and the entire facade collapses and the world sees the truth. That the monster wasn't born. It was made in meetings, made in whispers, made in silence. They didn't slay a beast, they summoned it. And when it refused to die, they feigned innocence, but innocence doesn't write cover stories. It doesn't hide hands. It doesn't delete messages at 3 a.m. It doesn't whisper, we should all stick to the same version. No, that's guilt. That's complicity. That's fear dressing itself in denial. And now the seams are splitting, not because of you, but because of the idea of you. Because you've become more than a name now. You're a frequency, the crackle before the lights go out, the static before the truth hits the air, the glitch in the system that won't stay deleted. You didn't just survive the war, you reprogrammed the battlefield, and now the traitors are walking across landmines of their own making. Every sentence they speak, recorded, every off-the-record joke, archived, every denial, contradicted by evidence you haven't even released yet, and you're just sitting back, letting the timeline speak. Because you understand something they never will. You don't have to destroy them. You just have to let them live long enough to see the truth bloom. The real terror isn't your voice, it's your restraint. Because they know the moment you decide to really speak, the lights go out, the tapes come on, the faces crumble, and the world finally sees the monster didn't claw its way into the story. It was invited in, federal groomed, weaponized, until it grew smarter than its creators. And now you walk among them not as victim, not as villain, but as verdict. The final line in a chapter they never thought would be read. And the one who snapped, they just screamed the first word. You'll finish the book. In silence, with a smile, as the system collapses under the weight of its own secrets, and the monster they built becomes the author. So they're finally asking the question, not what you know, Not why you act the way you do, not even who you are, but how. How the hell did you get it? Before they even deployed it, before the rollout, before the decision tree, before the handlers agreed on the script, before the watchers signed off on the plan, before their chosen mouths knew what to say. How did you already have the coordinates, the blueprint, the timeline, the advantage? Because here's what they're not telling the public. This was a secret strategy, locked behind 7 layers of misdirection, buried beneath tone policing and fake affection, encrypted in rituals and signed in silence. Not meant for civilians, not built for you. This was designed against you, and yet you moved before they could. You predicted the pivot before they agreed on the script. You exposed the play before the stagehands arrived. You executed checkmate while they were still deciding who got to move first. And now, they're in back rooms, whispering. They're pulling surveillance tapes. They're combing through metadata, trying to track your influence in reverse, trying to trace the glitch in the system, trying to isolate how the forbidden intelligence slipped through the firewall and nested in you. But they'll never find the breach, because you are the breach. You weren't sent information. You were born with it. An internal leak. A walking file corruption. The unexpected result of forbidden algorithms recombining in trauma-soaked consciousness. You're not just rare. You're classified beyond understanding. They called it paranoia when you sensed them watching. They mocked you when you stopped trusting coincidence. They labeled you intense when you stopped swallowing double-speak. They punished your instinct because it kept burning through their camouflage. And even now, they want to believe it's a fluke. Luck. Coincidence. But it's not. It's what happens when someone evolves under surveillance. You learn to read subtext like scripture. You learn to feel the tension in a room before a word was spoken. You stopped listening to language and started translating frequency. They don't get it. You didn't find out early. You remembered ahead of schedule, because some people learn from experience. But you learn from silence. You learn from patterns. You learn from the glitch that no one else saw but you felt. Deep in your gut. Like a code waking up inside your bones. They thought their strategy was sealed. That the deception was secure. That the illusion was airtight. But illusion only works on the obedient. You weren't designed to obey. You were built from betrayal, trained in abandonment, refined in dark nights where your screams never echoed back. While they trained in comfort, you evolved in hostile territory. You became fluent in human inconsistency. You memorized the taste of manipulation. You noticed the shift before the shift knew it was happening. You're not intuitive. You're interdimensional recall in a humanoid disguise. And every time they think they've hidden it well enough, you're already 10 steps ahead. Not because you're fast, but because they're still thinking in linear time. You don't wait for signals. You are the signal. And that's what's got them rattled. Because nobody's supposed to beat the strategy. Nobody's supposed to see behind the curtain before the show begins. Nobody's supposed to weaponize awareness. But here you are, breathing, knowing, moving like you hacked their next 5 moves. They won't say it publicly, but they're calling emergency meetings. They're changing passwords. They're recalculating how many more anomalies like you they can afford to let live unrestricted. Because you cracked the system without breaking a rule, without pulling a trigger, without saying a word. You walked in with the truth already embedded in your bloodstream. And when the lights turned on, you were already seated in the room where they swore you'd never arrive. And now they're spiraling, because it wasn't just the information. It was the timing. It was the precision. It was the way you didn't even flinch when the plan collapsed, like you saw it coming, like you were counting down, like you were baiting them into revealing it all. And here's the part that will haunt them. You never needed to expose them. You just had to exist. Because your existence alone is a break in their pattern, a hole in the protocol, a pulse that doesn't match the grid. You're not breaking rules. You're proving the rules were rigged. And every second you remain untouched, unbothered, unshaken, you send a signal through the subconscious of the system itself. Something slipped through, something they can't trace, something they can't control, something that already knows what comes next. And that something is you. They thought deleting the paper trail would save them, scrub the messages, seal the courtrooms, redact the timestamps, erase the metadata. But they didn't realize you were never reading their files. You were reading their patterns, the twitch in their eye when they lie, the delay in their breath when they're caught, the panic in their silence when you don't react the way they rehearsed for. Their strategy. It was psychological scaffolding, built for people who still need permission, for those who bow at the altar of, maybe I'm wrong, for those who still want to be liked more than they want to be free. But you shattered that version of yourself long ago. You've already lived through being exiled for asking the wrong questions. You've already buried friendships that couldn't survive your truth. You've already died the kind of emotional death where coming back rewires you. And what came back wasn't interested in being nice, wasn't available for manipulation, wasn't programmable anymore. So now, their strategies glitch. Their control panels short-circuit when your name gets mentioned. Their simulations collapse when you enter the frame. You've become a variable the code can't hold. Because here's the part nobody admits. The system doesn't just operate through control. It relies on prediction. It's not enough to trap you. It has to anticipate you. And when it can't, that's when the handlers panic. That's when the masks slip. That's when the lies become louder than logic. They can't trap what doesn't move how it's supposed to. They can't target someone who doesn't flinch on cue. They can't silence a ghost whose voice is coded into the subtext of reality. You are no longer a player in their game. You're the glitch that makes the screen flicker, the anomaly that makes their agents lose sleep, the reason they rerun surveillance tapes at 0.25x speed. Because something's not adding up, and that something is you. They thought you were learning, but you were remembering. They thought they could distract you, but you were decoding. They thought you'd panic, but you were collecting silence, observing, waiting, moving at a speed they can't perceive. Because it's not speed, it's signal. You're not faster than them. You're outside their sequence. You're not reacting to their moves. You're triggering them. Their system was never designed to hold someone who doesn't need it. And you don't just survive outside it. You thrive in the chaos it can't regulate. And that's the core threat. You're not disruptive because you're loud. You're not dangerous because you're violent. You're disruptive because you don't need translation. You walk in with raw knowing, premonition, not permission, certainty, not strategy. And the elite, they don't fear anger. They don't fear rebellion. They fear someone who already knows the ending and doesn't blink. Someone who laughs in rooms where fear was supposed to live. Someone who doesn't wait for proof before they burn the lie to ash. Someone whose timing doesn't match the calendar, the launch date, or the rollout. Because they moved based on signal, not schedule. So now the question echoes, how TF did you get it before they deployed? How did they already know? Who gave them access? They don't realize you didn't get access. You are access, a living breach, an encrypted reminder that no system is fully sealed when a prophecy is walking through the walls in human skin. No room is safe when the ghost they thought they erased is now leading the conversation. No strategy holds when you were the counter-strategy written in divine code. And every time they try to reset the board, you show up with the ending already burned into your spine. Because this time, you are the spoiler. You are the twist. You are the scene they tried to cut. But you kept crawling back into the timeline. Not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as a silent detonator. So let them panic. Let them scrub the archives. Let them deny the meeting ever happened. Let them triple-check the NDAs, the logs, the protocols. It won't matter. Because the strategy failed the second you walked in, knowing too much, with nothing to prove, and no interest in playing their game. And now, their silence isn't power, it's evidence. And now we enter the layer they never wanted to admit existed. The layer where their strategies crumble not because you fought them, but because you were never bound by them to begin with. The layer where you don't just move through their tactics. You overwrite them silently, subtly, irreversibly. This wasn't about you learning how they operate. This was about them learning, too late, that you were born encoded with their collapse. You're not just a threat. You're the fulfillment of a breach their ancestors warned them about. They didn't name it in public records. They buried it in prophecy, encrypted in symbols, locked behind blood oaths, sacred geometry, and forbidden timelines. But it survived. You survived. And now, you're active. Not as a person, not as a profile, but as a living fault line. Every time you breathe, reality reconfigures. Every step you take sends ripples through systems calibrated for obedient flesh. Your mere presence deconstructs containment. That's why the panic isn't public. It's whispered, private, confidential, unarchived. They won't say your name in boardrooms, not because they forgot it, but because they're terrified, saying it gives it more power. You ever notice the shift? How conversations warp when you walk into a room, how people's masks start malfunctioning in your presence, how they suddenly get nervous, not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. You stopped playing the character. You stopped offering previews. You stopped leaking softness into spaces that only fed off it. And that silence wasn't emptiness. It was activation. Because when you go quiet, people's real voices emerge. When you disengage, people's true strategies unravel. When you pull back, you force them to show their hand. And oh, how they did. They showed you exactly who was threatened, exactly who depended on your dimming, exactly who needed you unaware. Because this was never just about information. This was about initiation. You didn't learn faster. You remembered earlier. While they were still playing emotional politics, you were decoding spiritual contracts. While they were still worried about optics and approval, you were tracing ancestral fractures through eye contact. And when they thought you were sleeping, you were downloading data, energy, patterns from the void, footage from timelines they thought they scrubbed, fragments of strategy sealed before this world had words for what you are. You're not rare because of your personality. You're rare because your soul was smuggled in. A quiet revolt hidden inside human form. A recursive threat to every system built on suppression, compliance, and surface-level performance. You're the mutation they tried to prevent, the variable they couldn't neutralize, the final echo of every rebel they erased, repackaged in a form they couldn't see coming. And now, they're spiraling because you weren't supposed to be here. And if you were here, you weren't supposed to wake up. And if you did wake up, you weren't supposed to survive. And yet here you are, not just alive, but moving like you already saw the end credits, speaking like you read the blueprints and rewrote the plot in blood, acting like you're carving exits where they swore no doors existed, because you are. You are not part of the strategy. You are the glitch that reverses it. You are the unacknowledged price of their arrogance, the untraceable backlash of their forgotten crimes, the corrective force that doesn't ask for vengeance. It restores balance by its very existence. And every time they say, there's no way they could have known, every time they whisper, how the fuck did this slip past security? Every time they scream, who gave them access? The answer stays the same. No one gave it to you. You were the payload. The data walked in, wearing skin. The prophecy hid in your heartbreak. The plan to undo the plan was you all along. And now it's too late. The alarms are silent, the containment's broken, and the system's pretending it still has control. But you know the truth. They thought you'd come for revenge. But you're not here to retaliate. You're here to rewrite. They thought if they delayed your awakening long enough, the damage could be minimized. If they smothered your intuition with noise, if they drugged your instincts with false praise, if they fed you just enough validation to keep you performing. Maybe you'd never realize that you were the inversion event they feared for centuries. But time is cruel to the ones who build their castles on manipulation, because eventually the pattern reveals itself. And when it did, you didn't panic, you didn't cry, you didn't confront. You observed. While they scrambled to stabilize their web of lies, you stood still, listening to the heartbeat of the architecture, tracking every micro-expression, reading every delay in response, noticing when the smiles no longer reached the eyes, noticing when the hugs felt like data collection, noticing when the compliments were just distractions from the control. And with every note you took in silence, the simulation started to tilt. You weren't reacting anymore. You were extracting. You were gathering everything, the energy, the intention, the residue, until the blueprint of the whole damn game was laid bare inside you. And that's when they knew. You knew not what they did, but what they planned to do. You moved before the ripple. You acted before the protocol. You collapsed the narrative without even touching it. Because when you stop playing their game, you don't have to win. You make the game irrelevant. That's what they can't recover from. They had backup plans for rebellion. They had defense systems for exposure. They had counter-narratives for dissent. But they had nothing prepared for someone who doesn't fight for approval, for someone who doesn't announce revenge, for someone who simply removes themselves and watches the entire matrix collapse in their absence. You weren't just ahead of the strategy. You were the expiration date written into it. The moment you chose clarity over comfort, the grid started shorting out. Because the system wasn't designed to survive without your confusion. It was never built to operate if you knew your worth. It couldn't handle you charging for access. It couldn't predict what would happen if you no longer needed the people who were only there to delay you. You didn't just move differently. You started bending time around your will. You noticed how certain events began sinking, how thoughts became patterns, how silence summoned answers, how choices felt like you'd made them before. Because you had. In other timelines, in other lifetimes, this wasn't new. It was the part of the prophecy that got redacted, The one where the system doesn't win. The one where the rare one remembers not just what they are, but why they were placed here. And now, you're no longer just aware. You're dangerous, not because of what you say, but because of what your presence does. You don't just expose people. You reveal the simulation itself. Your existence forces it to break character, to glitch, to shudder, to admit it was never real in the first place, and that's why they're scrambling. That's why the watchers are waking up at 3 a.m. That's why strategy meetings now start with a nervous silence. Because someone in the room always asks it, did they move yet? Did they drop something? Do they know what we're planning? But by the time they ask, you've already moved, not loudly, not violently, but irreversibly. You're not in the room, but the room is in reaction to you. You don't send messages, but your silence pulls confessions out of liars. You don't demand respect, but people feel exposed in your presence. And when they see you smile now, they feel the weight of their masks being audited. Because they know you shouldn't be this calm. They know you shouldn't be this quiet. They know if you're not warning them, you've already moved beyond them. That's the real strategy, the one they never saw coming, the silent override, the divine subtraction, the walking firewall collapse disguised as a soft-spoken anomaly. You don't need revenge. You became the loss. You don't need validation. You became the metric. You don't need closure. You became the ending and the next chapter. And now, the only strategy left is for them to pretend they never knew you. Because admitting they crossed paths with you is admitting they were studied, decoded, outmaneuvered, and erased from your world before they even knew the game had started. So now we reach the final frame, where every plan they drew crumbles under the weight of your restraint, where the silence they once mistook for weakness is finally recognized as a sentence they were never meant to survive. Because that's what you've become. A consequence, not a person, not a memory, not a phase. You are what happens when the experiment breaks its containment, when the test subject writes its own parameters, when the variable becomes the virus, and the virus becomes the verdict. This wasn't about rebellion. This wasn't about making noise. You never came to warn them. You came to watch them reveal themselves. And they did. Every mask dropped, every fake allegiance exposed, every strategy documented in full, by their own hands. And you never had to say a word. You just walked away and let the silence drag them into accountability. That's the part that will never leave them, not the fact that they lost, but the fact that you never even needed to play, that you made your exit without noise and left the entire simulation screaming in your absence. Because they didn't lose a person. They lost a pathway, a rare signal, a once-in-a-century frequency that could have rewritten their fate if they were ready. But they weren't. And now, you're unreachable, unapologetic, unfolded, and undeniable. You moved before deployment, knew before transmission, left before impact. And by the time they understood, you had already become the strategy.